Welcome, everyone. Let's jump right into today's explainer where we're going to dive into the profound depths of Surah Al Imran. We'll be exploring its rich historical context, its moral imperatives, and some incredibly deep theological lessons. And we're pulling all of this directly from the renowned tafsir Zia al-Quran by Justice Pir Muhammad Karam Shah al-Azhari. This is a truly fascinating text, and we've got a lot of incredible insights to unpack today, so let's get started.
Okay, first things first. Let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're looking at. To truly grasp the immense physical and spiritual weight of this Medinan surah, consider these staggering numbers. It contains exactly 20 rukus, 200 verses, 3,542 words, and over 15,000 letters. I mean, it is a monumental piece of divine guidance.
Going straight to the original Urdu text from the tafsir, we really set the foundation for our journey today. The author brilliantly outlines how this surah acts as a unified constitution for humanity. It literally addresses everything, from the most abstract theological concepts all the way down to the very real, very physical struggles of a growing community in Medina.
Now, because this surah covers such a vast array of concepts, we're going to use a clear roadmap. We'll be looking at the introduction and core beliefs, the Najran delegation, the battles of Badr and Uhud, the responsibilities of the Muslim Ummah, the economic system, and finally, respect for prophets and guidance.
All right, Part 1, Introduction and Core Beliefs, focusing on the unity of religion.
You know, at the time, people were fracturing humanity into different sects based on previous prophets. But the text makes it crystal clear. Islam wasn't some brand new invention. It's the exact same core religion preached by all the prophets, starting right from the patriarch, Prophet Ibrahim. It's an unbroken chain. Each prophet confirmed the past, culminating in the finality of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who was sent to unite the scattered pages of humanity once and for all. Moving right along to our second topic, the Najran delegation and beliefs, addressing the Christians. To give you some historical context, a massive chunk of this surah was actually revealed during a very specific event. A delegation of Christian scholars and leaders from the region of Najran traveled to the Prophet's court in Medina to directly debate their beliefs.
And the way the surah responds to them is just fascinating. It doesn't just dismiss them, it systematically and logically addresses the doctrine of the Trinity, or Tathlith. It presents firm, rational arguments that establish the absolute oneness of God. It offers a profound counter-narrative to the idea of a triune deity, and the author notes that this theological discussion resonates just as powerfully today as it did back then.
Now, grounding these beliefs in harsh reality, we turn to Section 3, Badr, Uhud, and Conspiracies, looking at the physical battles. Think about the insane contrast here. The surah uses two specific historical moments to teach a really hard lesson. First, the Battle of Badr, where a handful of ill-equipped Muslims pulled off a massive, miraculous victory. But that victory made their enemies burn for revenge. Less than a year later, the Meccans marched on Medina at the Battle of Uhud. Initially, the Muslims were winning again, but as the text notes, the hasty actions of a few young individuals changed the entire landscape of the battle, resulting in heavy, heartbreaking losses. So, through these events, the surah is actually exposing hypocritical conspiracies and delivering a stern, necessary reprimand. The real takeaway here? This wasn't just a history lesson. This was divine boot camp. This strict discipline and tough love taught them patience and obedience, turning this small, disciplined group into a formidable force that would eventually go on to overcome the massive empires of Caesar and Khosrau.
Which brings us to Section 4. Responsibilities of the Muslim Ummah, the best of nations.
In this surah, the Muslim community is given the title of Khairul Ummam, which means the best of nations. But listen, this is not a title of arrogance. It's a massive, heavy burden of responsibility. They're told they don't just exist for themselves, they exist for the benefit of all humanity. And to actually achieve that, they have to maintain absolute unity. The text warns that storms of jealousy and malice will inevitably rise, and if they don't hold firmly to the rope of Allah, and instead fall into internal fighting, they won't just fail humanity, they'll threaten their very own survival.
And that spiritual and social harmony, it has to translate into practical, everyday application. That's Section 5, Economic System and Interest, Protecting Society.
The author makes a really powerful point here. You absolutely cannot have spiritual harmony without economic justice. Surah Al Imran reiterates the strict prohibition of riba, meaning usury or interest. Why? Because interest is an exploitative, oppressive system. It creates widespread anxiety and literally destroys the very bonds of brotherhood and unity that the Ummah is strictly commanded to protect.
That leads us into our final core topic, respect for prophets and guidance, focusing on true Tawheed.
I find this part absolutely fascinating. When the Quran refutes the idea that Prophet Isa or Jesus was the Son of God, it never ever does so by diminishing his miraculous status. Quite the opposite. It highlights his incredible God-given miracles with immense respect. It honors his virgin birth and states that by the permission of Allah, he healed the blind, raised the dead, and possessed profound, unseen knowledge.
And looking at the concluding notes of the introduction, the author makes a highly critical observation for today's world. He notes that true monotheism, true Tawheed, never requires us to diminish the spiritual and practical majesty of the prophets. He strongly cautions against those who, under the guise of teaching Tawheed, act disrespectfully towards the final prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He reminds us that deep reverence for the prophet is intrinsically tied to the very core of the Quran's message.
All right, taking the next step in formalizing your Islamic education. Exploring these themes like we did today is fantastic, but to really understand the depths of this divine guidance, you need structure, you need expert teachers. And that is exactly why we are so proud to present this explainer on behalf of ZKF Online Qur'an Academy. If you want to move beyond just a surface-level understanding, ZKF Online Qur'an Academy is the premier platform for you and your kids to learn, listen, and deeply comprehend the Quran in a structured, expert-led environment.
The steps to transform your spiritual education are super simple. First, decide to deepen your understanding. Second, choose a reliable platform. And third, take action. You can literally reach out to ZKF Online Qur'an Academy directly right now at 009715033133986 to begin your formal enrollment and connect your family to this beautiful guidance.
So, we've seen today how this text outlines our history, our economic justice, and our ultimate purpose. The question I want to leave you with is this. Are you ready to dive deeper and truly fulfill the responsibilities laid out for the best of nations? Think about the magnificent lessons of Surah Al Imran and take that next step in your educational journey today. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer.